So I'm just going to jump back into Synfig here, click on my text tool, move over here to where we have our ruler or our guide. Just left click, hold down the left mouse button and drag outwards, and that will pull out a guide out of the left side here. And I'm just going to come here, stop there, left click, hold down and drag one over here as well. So this will basically tell us where we don't want our text to go outside of. So these will act as our borders for the layout. Now I'm going to go to the text tool, click here, and I'm going to type good guys. So I'm just going to type good in all caps, click on OK. And as you can see here, I'm already using my font, Mr. Belvedere. But you can change the font to whatever you want here. Also, I forgot to state this, but I'm using Synfig version 1.5.3, which is the development version. And I'll be posting a link in the description below as well, so you can get a copy of that if you want. But you can also use the current stable version, which is Synfig version 1.4.3. I'm not teaching you anything that you can't do in both versions. So yeah, either one of them is fine. And so let's continue here. In order to increase the size of the font, there are different ways that we could do that. So if we click on the parameters icon here, we could go down to size here and type the size. But if we type it here, we would have to type it 2 times. For example, if I type 180 and press enter, it would move over to the other side, and then I would have to type 180 again, press enter to scale it up. So that's a bit of an additional step, right? So let me just click on my transform tool here and click on the origin point for the text. So let me just show you additional ways. We could use this right here. It's not scaling it uniformly. So I would avoid using that option there. And what I would do, the option that works best for me, is just to put it in a folder. The reason why I'm doing that is because it's easier for me to scale it uniformly. So I'm just going to click on the folder icon here and let me rename the group and call it good, so we have the same name as our text. And I'm just going to click on the transparent point here, hold it down, move it up above our text, then release. And I'm going to use the orange point over here to scale our text up. So if you click on this and drag, it will scale your text up uniformly. Or alternatively, you could just click on the point and use your arrow keys on your keyboard. And I'm using the up key to just incrementally scale the text up. And I am going to just hold on the shift key while clicking on the origin point here and dragging to position it inside of my guidelines here. So I'm just going to go ahead and scale this up, use my origin point, move this over, scale it up one more time until I have everything within my guides there. So that is looking okay to me. Let's go ahead and add the second text. So we have good. I'm just going to duplicate this. With the folder selected, I'm just going to come down here to the duplicate icon and click on that to duplicate it. Let me actually undo that. Alternatively, you could just press Ctrl C and Ctrl V to copy and paste the text. Okay, so I'm going to click on this one here and I'm going to call this guys, so GUIYS. Let me open it up, go into the text layer here, or click on the text layer, click on the text here in the parameters panel, click on the text over here in the value, and I'm going to type guys. So we have that, click on OK, and I'm going to click on the folder, right? Let me actually close that up so that we are able to see. And I'm going to click on the origin point here for guys, hold down the shift key on my keyboard so that we can, and move my mouse down so that we are moving in a straight line like so. Now notice that we have the text going outside of our guides here. Now that could be a stylistic choice if you so choose, but I'm going to just select the scale point here and press the down arrow key on my keyboard to move it inward, to scale it down. We also need the movie stars title names as well as the 3 let me actually check again. We need the 3 rectangular bars here, so we have 1, 2, 3. So let's go ahead and add those, and I'm just going to add the movie star names first. I'm going to click on the text here, good, and Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and let me just scale this down. And actually what we can do is we can turn off all the ones that we're not using. So let me just focus on this one here, scale this down just so we don't get confused. Scale this down here, and we can rename it to whatever you want. So you can utilize whatever name you want. You could use your name and a friend's name. It's all up to you. I'm going to be using some biblical names here. Genesis, Exodus. Let's just pretend that there's a person called Genesis Exodus. So it's just the first name and the last name. Okay, and I'm going to scale this one down. I'm not very creative when it comes to names and stuff like that, so it's easier for me to just utilize what already exists. And let me move this over here, and I'm just let me actually change the name of the folder here to the same name, Genesis Exodus. And I think this will be a good time to tell you to save. Always remember to save your project. Okay, so you can press Ctrl S, or you can go to File, Save, or Save As, and give it whatever name you want. Okay, so always remember to save. Okay, cool. So let's continue. We have Genesis Exodus, and I'm just going to duplicate this and move this one over, and I'm holding down Shift, and I'm going to call this one Matthew Mark. Click on OK, and double click on the folder name, and let's rename it to the very same thing, like so. Okay, and I'm just going to move this over to the edge like this, and let's also do this very same thing for this one here. Now I think we need a bit of space between these two names here, so I'm just going to hold on Shift over here in my layers panel and left click on the next name, so I have both of them selected, and I'm going to left click on the origin point for this one, hold on Shift, left click on the origin point for this one, and let me actually just move these down first because I think it's too close to the edge. So I'm just going to move this down a bit, like maybe there, and then I'm going to select this scale point here, hold on Shift and select the scale point here, and I'm just going to press the down arrow on my keyboard to scale them down simultaneously like this. And let me just select the origin point here, move this back over to the right edge, select the origin point on this one, move it over back to the left edge. Okay, so we have that set up, and we need the 3 rectangles now. So I'm just going to select the rectangle tool. I'm just going to use the first layer type here, and I'm going to click on this edge, drag outward. Now the height, I mean, it's entirely up to you. You don't want to make it too high, and you don't want to make it too small. So I think I'm going to go for something like there. Now notice that you aren't able to see my rectangle, and I believe it's because that the blend method is set to color. So what you want to do is go to, if you have the same issues, you can just click on the parameters panel, and where it says blend method, just make sure that the blend method is set to composite. So let me actually just select my transform tool here, and I am going to just move this out a bit to touch the edge of the line there, and I'm going to left click on the outside of the canvas and drag inward to select both points here, and I'm just going to move this up a bit, like maybe there. And let me go and turn on back the rest of my text. So I'm going to turn on the good, and now I know that I can move this down, so I'm going to hold down the Shift key and the down arrow key on my keyboard and just move this down to position it there, somewhere like there. And I'm going to also, let's rename the rectangle. Let's call this RECT_1, and I'm just going to duplicate this twice. So Control C, Control V, Control V again, so that we have 3 rectangles. And I'm going to rename the second one to Rect2, the third one to Rect3, and for the second one here, I'm just going to select both points there and hold down the Shift key on my keyboard and left click and drag it below my text there, somewhere about there, and then release. And then I'm going to turn on back guys, and I'm going to select the origin point here, hold down Shift and move this down to maybe there. And then I'm going to select the third rectangle, select both points, like by left clicking and dragging over both points, holding down Shift, left click and drag below like so, and then we can move it down as far as we want. So that is looking good. Let me actually click over here in my navigator panel, and we can zoom out to see what we have, and then we can just move up, and let me just save this here. Okay, so now we need a tagline, because if we notice in our flyer here it says ride or die, but I think I'm going to go for something like go and live. So let's work with that. Yeah, that actually works. So let me select this, duplicate it, and move this one down like so and scale it. And let me just go into the text layer and alter the text here. So I'm going to type go and live, and you can use whatever tagline you want. It's up to you, right? It's your poster. So I'm just going to click on OK, and we see that that is too big. Let me actually rename the folder as well. So go and live, and I'm going to scale this down now to fit within our guidelines. Now, if you notice, we have run out of space, and on the flyer, we see that there are other texts on the flyer, but we're going to leave that off of our poster because it's not that important, and we'll continue in the next video.